What is happening, guys? Welcome to J Powell Music. Be sure to like and subscribe here on the channel. Hit that notification bell so you know when these episodes are coming out. And today I wanted to share some information about the Omar Rodriguez Lopez documentary with Cedric, titled Omar and Cedric, If This Ever Gets Weird. Now, unfortunately, I have not been able to see it just yet. However, there has been someone that posted something on Reddit where they did see it at one of the festivals in London, and he gave his little review here, about the film. So I thought that was pretty cool. So shout out to, I want to say his name was Rawls, for doing that. I just kind of wanted to read off a little bit of what he said, just kind of give my thoughts on what he said. And yeah, so quick and painless here. Let me share this. Good old Reddit. So hopefully this thing does get a wider release. But Rawlness, I guess. Shout out to Rawlness. So let me read some of this here. It says, I just attended the premiere of the film in London. If you were there, I was the guy who asked the first question during the Q&A and wanted to share an honest review with someone who was originally a fan as far as the Commentorium forum days, which absolutely, you know, this is the channel for that. Says I'll try to keep it spoiler free, but if you have more questions, feel free to ask in the comments. I'll spoiler tag it. Says first and foremost, it is everything a fan of Mars Volta at the drive-in and Ortiz Lopez could possibly want in a documentary about them without having to being overly indulgent. Sounds amazing already. Says while knowingly a bit of their music does make it more enjoyable, I'd argue the director set out to make the movie a movie that can be consumed as a standalone work by a non-fan, and they still you still take something away from it. After the film, the director read an email from Omar describing how he felt about the documentary. Neither of the guys were at the premiere. That said something along the lines of, I'm proud to see this documentary showing that we are just two humans who happen to make art that is byproduct of the lives we are living, and not that we are simply byproducts of the music we make. Wow, that's a really awesome quote. That's really neat. And he says, and I couldn't agree more. Continuing on, it says the documentary was well laid out and felt very cohesive. I'll be honest, I was a bit worried about it would be very overly indulgent and just weird for the sake of art, but this was a proper documentary in the traditional sense of the term. It says the film is made up of hours and hours of home footage Omar filmed throughout the years, going far as back as his childhood, with Omar and Cedric narrating their experience in interview format as they go through all the different phases of their life up to the present day. They don't hold back anything. I've never seen these guys more transparent than they were in this film. The documentary demystifies the Mars Volta in the best way possible. It drives home the point that they are so much more than their music, and by the end, I realized how taxing letting music become bigger than themselves was on them as humans. Since there were some great moments for the fans, as well as including the most cinematic footage I think had ever seen from their peak. The Mars Volta Tour 2005 London show was shot in 16mm. Looked, sounded incredible. Finally, though, the footage were sitting in a storage vault in New Jersey all this time, and nobody but Omar knew it existed, according to the director. Oh, wow. There's just a ton to take in. The director did a great job covering as much as possibly can in 2 hours. There's obviously some parts that get left out. I'd say 90% was all there. Okay. As expected from their trailer, the documentary leans in on their humor and isn't afraid to show the sillier, weirder side of them as well. I really hope this gets a wider release. It has the bones for it. This is more than just a rock documentary or catering only to hardcore fans. It's a good film regardless of how much or little of a nerd you are. That's neat. Now let's read this guy here. This is interesting. Some fun facts, non-spoiler. Says the director stated that during the Q&A and ONC, don't consider, or Omar and Cedric, don't consider the albums after Ambitexture as legitimate the Mars Volta albums in their minds. They felt the band began deteriorating after Ambitexture, he explained. Probably explains why they've touched any of the songs on recent tours. Wow. That's really interesting. Mars Volta fans, what do you guys think about this? I mean, obviously this is from the horse's mouth, right? Supposedly. from the creators, from the main Mars Volta guys. They don't consider the albums after Ambitexture actual legitimate the Mars Volta albums. Well, what about the most recent Mars Volta album? What is their definition of legitimate Mars Volta? You know, I mean, obviously there's their peak, right? As far as just like just how, when it comes just to the essence of the band and their biggest, plight in musicianship or just popularity or just their sound of what they recognize to be signature wise. That's really interesting. That makes me want that makes me want to think. I almost, yeah, I guess that's the only thing that you're probably not going to see in the documentary. Just as a side note before we read the rest of the bullets, you're not really going to see any thoughts around the most recent Mars Volta album, which I think is very good. Obviously, it's not the same as previous Mars Volta. It probably doesn't connect from a documentary perspective from them, starting the band and all that stuff. But I think it would be interesting to see how they feel about the band now, them being older and everything, wiser, and obviously, more musically inclined than they've ever been. So that's interesting. Anyway, I'll continue on here. So it says Omar considers this premiere as the funeral of the film. That's interesting. I can understand that. Once you present it, it's no longer yours. That's kind of the artistic nuance of that. Next bullet point says the director has been working on this film for over 1,000 days. Someone corrected me and have said 1,000 hours and not days. Almost all of the footage was shot by Omar. His role almost consisted of building a narrative structure and picking the footage to use. Really cool, man. Really freaking cool. So I won't go into the weeds of this particular Reddit forums because I don't want the film spoiled for you guys. I don't want the film spoiled for myself. Are you kidding me? But I found that to be interesting just because, I'm a Mars Volta fan who wants to see this film, obviously, and I haven't seen it, and I've seen the trailer, and that's all I've seen. So it's nice to get some insight on how the film is after, from somebody else who is a fan, and being able to identify, certain things, and the fact that they like it, that's cool. I mean, that's a good sign, obviously, right? One of the most interesting things that he said in there, though, for me at least, was that they don't consider the albums after Ambitexture legitimate because the band deteriorated. Legitimate Mars Volta. That's just such a powerful statement to me. I mean, maybe I'm kind of nerdifying a little bit, but that's a really interesting thing to say. Anyway, what do you guys think in the comments? I won't make this any longer than it needs to be. J Powell Music. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next video.